chosen ones. What if I told you that the very act of staying true to your spiritual path has already set in motion a divine relocation? Have you ever felt like your life is about to change overnight, but you just can't explain why? There once was a woman named Eliana. She lived in a small town surrounded by noise but starved of meaning. Every day she prayed, every night she journaled, she fasted. She helped people who couldn't pay her back. Everyone laughed at her for wasting her time. But Eliana stayed obedient to the call. Then one day a stranger walked into her life. A wealthy man visiting for a business conference heard about the things she did for the poor in her town. Without hesitation, he offered to relocate her to another city, a bigger place where she could serve on a larger scale, not for profit, not for fame, but because she had done this. She stayed faithful. Chosen ones, when you walk in righteousness, the universe rearranges itself to honor your journey. So what exactly is this one thing you've been doing that caught heaven's attention and now has wealthy strangers moving mountains for you? As it says in Proverbs 18:16, your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great men. This isn't just about relocation, it's about restoration. It's about elevation. It's about stepping into the next divine chapter of your life. So, chosen ones, stay with me until the very end, because each point in this video will awaken something powerful in you, and you'll finally understand why destiny has a wealthy stranger with your name on their lips. Let's dive in. Point 1. You broke the cycle of poverty mindset. Chosen. 1. Something remarkable happened the moment you stopped speaking the language of lack. When you stopped saying things like, "We can't afford that," or "That's too expensive for people like us." You didn't just shift your vocabulary, you shifted your reality. Even when your pockets were echoing like a canyon in the middle of nowhere, you began to speak and think with the mindset of abundance. That's no small feat. Most people stay trapped in generational cycles of scarcity because that's what they were taught to believe. But not you. You dared to break the mental chains, to look at the same bank account others would call empty, and instead see it as a temporary situation, not a permanent identity. This change didn't just empower you, it marked you. In the spiritual realm and the physical one, your energy began to shift. And here's what's powerful. Wealthy people, true stewards of generational influence, can sense that energy. They don't only seek people with money, they seek people with vision, people who think big, people who act like kings and queens before their throne is even built. When someone carries themselves like royalty with integrity, vision, discipline, and gratitude, the world can't help but take notice. It's magnetic. Psychologically, this is known as self-fulfilling prophecy. When you expect abundance, your behaviors align with it. You carry yourself differently. You walk into rooms like you belong there, and that confidence is contagious. People are drawn to those who see opportunity where others see obstacles, and in today's world, mindset is currency. The one who believes they can build empires often gets handed the blueprints, simply because they carry the aura of leadership. And the truth is, thinking like royalty isn't about arrogance or entitlement, it's about stewardship. Royalty doesn't waste, gossip, or dwell in fear. They plan, they build, and they uplift. That's what you've stepped into. You're not waiting for riches to prove your worth. You're proving your worth through your thoughts, and riches are starting to find you. So, yes, the world is noticing. People who once saw you as just another dreamer are now paying close attention. Why? Because royalty recognizes royalty. And when your mind becomes a palace, the world starts treating you like a king or queen in the making. Point 2. You honored the assignment in silence. In a world where likes, shares, and followers often seem to measure a person's worth, you chose a different path. You didn't need a spotlight for every good deed, every sacrifice, or every win. While others broadcasted their every move, needing external validation to feel successful or seen, you stayed quiet. Not because you lacked something to share, but because your spirit understood something deeper. Real power doesn't make noise. You did the work in silence. You gave, you healed, you helped, and you built, all without the need for applause. That, right there, is humility in its purest form, and it activated something far more powerful than online recognition. It activated divine exposure. This kind of quiet strength doesn't go unnoticed in the spiritual realm. In fact, it aligns you with something much greater than likes. It aligns you with God's favor. And when you're in alignment with divine timing and purpose, Mysterious things begin to happen. Wealthy strangers, people you've never met, start feeling drawn to you. They may not know your name, your story, or even why they feel compelled to help you, but they feel a divine nudge. They feel led. It's as if heaven whispered your name in their spirit. Psychologists call this kind of pull a liminal trigger, a subconscious recognition of something meaningful or aligned. Spiritually, it's called discernment. These strangers aren't responding to your resume or your social media. They're responding to your spirit. Your silent, obedient walk, your quiet consistency, your refusal to brag. The energy of divine alignment cannot be hidden. It radiates, and it calls forth what you need when you need it. Here's what most people miss. When you do things God's way, promotion doesn't come from people. It comes through people. Your humility made you visible where it mattered most, in the spirit. So while others lived loudly and burned out chasing attention, you lived with intention. And now the right doors are opening, the right people are noticing, and yes, even those wealthy strangers are feeling a divine pull toward you. Don't be surprised when you're elevated in rooms you didn't campaign to enter. That's divine exposure. That's holy alignment. And that's the reward of staying faithful when no one was watching. Point 3, you said no to the wrong environments. You walked away, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. You stepped out of conversations that drained your spirit, away from people who smiled to your face but whispered doubt behind your back. You detached from those gossip circles, the dream killers, the energy vampires who thrived on negativity and masked it as concern. And even though it felt uncomfortable at first, like shedding skin you'd worn for years, you knew deep down it was time. You weren't being cold, you were being called. See, growth doesn't always come with confetti and congratulations. Sometimes it comes with silence, solitude, and a sense that you no longer belong where you once thrived. This is spiritual evolution. Just like a snake must outgrow its skin to survive, your soul has to outgrow its environment to thrive. And you did. You stopped shrinking to fit into spaces you had already spiritually graduated from. The people who once understood you no longer speak your language. And that's not a sign of failure, that's a sign of ascension. Science backs this up in ways we often overlook. Neuroscience shows that when we change our environment, our brain chemistry changes too. New surroundings create new neural pathways, helping us form better habits, perspectives, and energy. That's why you feel lighter when you leave a toxic job, a stressful relationship, or even a hometown full of painful memories. Your nervous system literally relaxes. Spiritually speaking, your higher self can't bloom in places designed to keep you small. So heaven starts orchestrating something new, a divine relocation. This relocation isn't just about geography, it's about elevation. Maybe it's a new city, a fresh career path, or an unexpected opportunity that aligns with your soul's new vibration. The reason your old zip code feels off lately is because it is. You've shifted, and your energy no longer harmonizes with your previous frequency. That's not a glitch, it's divine timing. When God sees your willingness to walk away from what no longer serves you, He opens doors you didn't even know existed, places you didn't apply to, homes you never imagined, blessings you didn't think were meant for you. So, don't be surprised if the call to move, physically, mentally, spiritually, gets louder. That's your confirmation. Your relocation is not a coincidence. It's a cosmic graduation. Your soul has outgrown the old place. Heaven is already setting the table in the new one. Point 4, you're already doing the work without resources. While others hesitated, calculating costs and drawing up endless plans, you acted in faith. No funding, no fanfare, just a deep inner knowing that you were called to do something bigger. And so, you moved. You built when the foundation wasn't even clear. You served when no one was watching. You showed up day after day, fueled not by applause or approval, but by conviction. That kind of commitment, raw, obedient, and undeterred, is magnetic. It doesn't just attract opportunity, it draws in divine favor. In a world where most people wait for a green light, a paycheck, or permission, you dared to move with nothing but belief. That's rare, and the universe notices rare. According to psychological studies, consistent action despite uncertainty, known as proactive resilience, is one of the greatest predictors of long-term success. But this isn't just about psychology, it's about purpose. When God sees you acting out of faith, He aligns divine investors in your path, not just people who admire your work, but those compelled to support it. Why? Because obedience is a currency heaven honors. You see, wealthy strangers aren't always looking for polished perfection or shiny credentials. They're looking for evidence of integrity, of faith, of vision in motion. Obedience is that evidence. It's proof that you're serious, that you're trustworthy, that you're the real deal. And when someone sees you giving your all without waiting for ideal conditions, they recognize something holy in that. It's irresistible, because anyone with deep resources knows money doesn't multiply without meaning, and you walking in obedience are carrying meaning. History proves it too. Take the story of Nehemiah, who rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem with limited support, yet gained favor with the king simply because he was willing to act. Or think of modern entrepreneurs like Howard Schultz of Starbucks, who built the vision of a coffeehouse empire with limited backing until someone caught the fire in his faith and funded it. Obedient action creates movement, and movement attracts miracles. So don't be surprised when strangers start showing up with checks, keys, or open doors. They're not just funding your talent, they're honoring your obedience. You didn't wait for a budget, you walked by faith, and that's what made heaven take notice. Point 5. You passed the test of obscurity. The hardest part of any spiritual journey isn't the applause, it's the silence. It's doing the right thing when no one sees, no one claps, and no one seems to care. Chosen ones, you know this too well. You kept your integrity when it would have been easier to compromise. You walked away from gossip, refused to betray your values, and stayed disciplined when shortcuts were tempting. While others celebrated quick wins, you were being refined in silence. You weren't overlooked, you were being hidden, but not from punishment, from preparation. See, in life, there's a sacred season of obscurity, a time when your name isn't on billboards, your phone isn't ringing off the hook, and your talents aren't being recognized, and yet you still gave your best. That was the test. You sowed seeds of character when no one saw you. You practiced excellence in private. You said no to things that didn't align with your purpose, even when it cost you relationships or opportunities. That was your wilderness season. And it wasn't wasted. Let's make it plain, God was watching, and so was destiny. Every tear you cried in secret, every time you chose love over revenge, every moment you resisted bitterness, that was recorded in heaven. Scientists say the brain strengthens behavior through repetition, even without recognition. So while it felt like no one noticed, you were being neurologically and spiritually rewired to carry greatness. You were being equipped for a platform. Now, here's the beautiful twist. Promotion is never random. You're about to be relocated, not because you begged for attention, but because you proved yourself faithful in the shadows. Think about David tending sheep before he was crowned king. Think about Esther, hidden away before saving a nation. Every chosen vessel in history went through a hidden phase before divine elevation. So, chosen one, don't regret that season where no one clapped for you. That was your spiritual gym where strength was built, character was shaped, and clarity was born. You're about to step into a season where your obedience in obscurity becomes the very reason you're trusted with visibility. Let others chase platforms. You're being placed on one by divine hands. Get ready. Your private faithfulness has earned you a public assignment. Point 6. You released the need to control. You surrendered, and in doing so, you did something most people fear. You let go of the illusion of control, of the tight grip on timelines, and the desperate chase for outcomes. In a world that glorifies hustle and grind, surrender often feels like giving up. But in truth, it's the most powerful act of trust. When you stopped running toward what you thought you needed, you began walking in alignment with what God already prepared for you. That quiet shift wasn't weakness, it was divine wisdom. You stopped begging for doors to open and started preparing your spirit for the ones that would swing open on their own. Here's what most people don't realize. The universe, God, doesn't operate on human deadlines. Divine timing is always precise, but rarely predictable. When you surrendered, you didn't become passive. You became powerful. You stopped forcing your way through and started flowing with the current, not against it. And that flow, that's where miracles live. Suddenly, without warning, the phone rings. A message appears. An invitation is extended. A wealthy stranger offers an opportunity, a gift, or a connection. that completely rewrites your path. And no, it wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was alignment. That stranger didn't find you by accident. They were sent, not by man, but by God. Because when you stop micromanaging the how, heaven delivers the who. Studies in psychology have shown that surrendering expectations can reduce anxiety and increase creativity. When your nervous system isn't stressed with, what if it doesn't happen? Your mind is free to imagine, receive, and respond. Spiritually speaking, surrender opens the gates for God to move. You no longer worship the timeline, you worship the source. And the source, he doesn't deal in crumbs, he deals in overflow. Those divine orchestrations are not always loud. Sometimes they come as whispers, as delayed flights that lead to chance meetings, or as job losses that become life pivots. But they always come. And when they do, they come laced with abundance, financial, spiritual, emotional. The stranger may show up with wealth, but it's your alignment that attracted the blessing. So don't chase, align, don't panic, prepare. Surrender isn't the end of your story, it's the holy pause before the miracle unfolds. Point 7, you became the blessing. Chosen one, you stopped waiting for blessings. You became one chosen one. There comes a moment in your journey where you stop passively hoping for miracles to fall from the sky, and you realize you were the miracle all along. You stopped waiting for blessings to knock on your door, and instead, you became the very blessing others have been praying for. That shift in mindset is not just spiritual, it's magnetic. And when you become a blessing, guess what? Blessings start chasing you. It's like a divine algorithm. When you show up with pure intention, integrity, and purpose, the universe recalculates the route to bring what's meant for you straight into your path. Here's the part people overlook. The truly wealthy, the visionaries, the kingdom builders, the legacy protectors aren't just looking for resumes, they're looking for spirit. They want people who carry weight without needing a title. And you, chosen one, are that person. While others were trying to fit in, you were learning how to stand out by staying true to who you are. Your resilience became your resume. Your character became your credibility. Wealthy people, those with power, vision, and generational plans, aren't impressed by shallow flash. They're drawn to deep substance. They're not looking for someone to just do a job. They're searching for someone to carry a mission with heart. And here's a little-known fact. Studies in leadership and philanthropy show that high net worth individuals often invest in people, not just projects. What they look for most, trust, humility, and spiritual alignment. Your energy, the peace you carry, your unshakable faith, these are rare currencies in a chaotic world. And when those with influence feel that presence in you, it activates something in them. They realize you're not here to take advantage. You're here to help steward something sacred. You didn't chase validation. You didn't bend or sell your soul. You waited, you endured, and you grew. Now, without even trying, you're attracting opportunities that align with your soul, not just your skills. Don't be surprised when a wealthy stranger steps into your life, not to save you, but to partner with you. Because your life has become a beacon. Your preparation speaks louder than any words, and the right ones, those divinely sent, are taking notice. Chosen ones, you didn't chase the blessing, you walked in obedience, you stayed true, you aligned with purpose, and now relocation is not just a possibility, it's a prophecy unfolding. The wealthy stranger is just a vessel, the true architect is God. So stay the course, keep your heart pure, because when heaven sends helpers, they come bearing keys to cities. Watch this again if you need reminding, and never forget, divine favor doesn't ask for your resume, it recognizes your spirit. Until next time, stay awake, stay chosen.